Welcome along to episode 3 of Cherries Chat with myself, Daniel Davis. I'm joined again by Andy Jones. We're speaking 2 days after Bournemouth beat Liverpool at the weekend. A deserved 3 points for their massive victory. For the relegation fight and for the spirits of the team, all sorts, especially off the back of last week's crushing defeat at Arsenal. It was great to see. Brilliant performance, well deserved. Full credit to everyone involved. I mean, what a day, Andy. What did you make of the game? Because I was really impressed with the performance, the application, and I think they got what they deserved in the end.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. It was a brilliant performance. Outplayed Liverpool for the vast majority of the game, in my opinion. I think Liverpool started the better team in the opening sort of 10, maybe 15 minutes. A couple of chances given to Virgil van Dijk. Obviously, Jeff clears one off the line. Brilliant. Even that, we talked before about players switching off at those set pieces and maybe pushing forward. In this instance, he gets the ball, goes over his head, and he's straight back onto the post to clear that. And then, a brilliant team performance with Ouattara really shining, having a wonderful game down that right wing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could single out one player and say, that they dipped below their standards. I think all of them were, at least a 7 out of 10, a couple of 8s. To be honest, my post-match rating is probably, in hindsight, quite harsh, to be honest, because the more I look back at the game, the more, superb bits and pieces that I see. It's just the way it always goes, try and judge it on the final whistle, and then you look back and say, actually, that was much better than I thought. So, one of those really. But I mean, not a single player disappointed. Everyone, fought for the shirt, fought for each other. They were committed, more aggressive than I thought they would be, to be fair. It was good to see the switch back to the 2 banks of 4. I think Dom and Phil sort of pressing as that 2 worked. Defensively sound, like I say, apart from the flurry of early chances for Liverpool, I think Bournemouth did well to kind of frustrate them and stem the way that they normally try and play, which is, speed through thirds. Bournemouth were very good at sort of slowing that down, controlling the game, and then threatening themselves as well. And like you say, Dango Ouattara, I think it's now got 3 assistances since he's come in from Lorient. And this, for me, is probably the best a lot, to be honest, because we'll quickly chat about his role in the goal now. Adam Smith pinging the ball over the top, great outside of the boot pass.
That was a lovely ping, wasn't
it? Gorgeous. Yeah, I mean, because I was typing away, I didn't quite see the flight of it. Well, I saw the replays, absolutely stunning pass. And then the control to take it down, and then the bravery to try and take on Van Dijk. He just put on the afterburners with Tara, didn't he? And then the cut back from the byline, it worked a treat, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, you just said great ping from Smith, and then Ouattara doing what Ouattara does, driving with the ball at pace, and wasn't afraid to take on Virgil van Dijk, who let's be honest, it's probably not peak Virgil van Dijk in that moment. You don't often see him getting turned like that, and he wasn't even tracking back really. I think maybe he just thought, I'm never catching him, and then good vision from Ouattara to sort of get his head up and pick out Billing's run from deep. The lovely all-round move, really.
It was, I mean, it was kind of what Gary O'Neill's tried to instill or sort of lean on a lot, actually, in these recent weeks, especially since the January signings have come in, which is like direct attacking football. And there's no harm in that if you do it the right way, and they absolutely did at the weekend. Like, Smith picking up the ball, put under a little bit of pressure. I think what we've seen from him over the last couple of games is actually like a willingness to try and support Ouattara a little bit more. And it was good to see him kind of pick that pass, get his head up, have a look. It wasn't just a punt downfield. It was a calculated ball, knowing that Ouattara had made that run in behind the fullback. And we spoke about it on the pod last week. We knew there'd be space behind the 2 Liverpool fullbacks. They Bournemouth exploited that all afternoon brilliantly. And that was on one occasion where, ball down that side, Ouattara, like you say, just absolutely goes past Van Dijk. Replays are, and rightly so, Van Dijk's been criticised a lot by pundits because it didn't look like he gave up, but it was surprising he didn't try and throw his body a little bit more in the byline to stop that cross. Not that I'm complaining or anyone related to Bournemouth. And then, like you say, great low cross. Billing sort of ghosts unmarked into the penalty area. Another goal from him this season. I mean, he's been a superb performer, hasn't he? Especially in recent weeks. But to be honest, most of the season, I think if he's not, grabbing the headlines or scoring goals, he's done a lot of really good work under the radar, hasn't he, Phil Billing?
Yeah, he's probably taken some criticism at times, but I think that's just the the nature of when the team isn't playing well, players are picked out, fairly or unfairly. But no, definitely in recent weeks, he's really been a key player. And just before the goal, he was really coming into the game, picking the ball up, driving at players, making Liverpool ask questions, and at times I thought, his position play when, without the ball, sometimes actually he dropped into the midfield and it was almost a 5. So they went, matched up the 3-for-3 in the centre, and it gave, Ouattara and Anthony that a bit more freedom to be able to exploit the fullbacks, because actually everyone's, man marked in the middle. And I thought that worked well. And just going back to, Smith and Ouattara, linking up, I think we spoke last week and maybe even the week before about there sometimes not being that out ball, not knowing where do we go when we're at the back there. And it looked like there was a definite game plan. This is where we want to get the balls. We want to get them down the wings, in the channels behind the fullbacks. And it worked, time after time. I mean, Ouattara had a chance, earlier in the game to score himself. And, that came from a very sort of similar situation, a bit more of a counter attack, but they were looking for him instantly down that right wing. And arguably, maybe should have got his first goal there. But I'm not going to criticise too much after such a good performance.
I think that first goal is coming. It's just finding that clinical edge, really. In terms of his shooting, we're yet to see, a real bit of quality. But while he's providing assists and basically doing everything else, I mean, massive defensive performance from him as well. When Bournemouth were trying to protect their lead in the last stages of the game, he kind of dropped in. Same as the other on the other wing as well, Joe and Anthony, and sort of switched to a 6, got really, really compact and trying to basically try and prevent Liverpool from exploiting anything down those wings. And Ouattara stepped in there, did a massive job, aerially brilliant as well. So what something that's proved to be. And I think Bournemouth all afternoon were great defensively. It's just a shame that obviously there was the second half penalty. It was a massive let off, Mohamed Salah skewing that wide. Well, I think I tweeted saying Diana Ross got closer, and I absolutely stand by that. It was a dreadful penalty. It was bad the first time I saw it. The replays make it look worse. I think it was strange because his run, he took such a wide run and then just knocked it wide of the post. I mean, it was quite funny watching the alternate angle video posted by Bournemouth today, actually, because you can see all the fans in the stand just like trying to wave and put him off. And I don't know whether that played a part. Probably not. It never really does. But I think it was. I mean, Adam Smith said it was justice. I don't know if I'd go that strongly, because obviously he felt maybe rightly aggrieved that it wasn't a penalty. I think it was quite harsh. I understand why the referee gave it, because it's these new rules and they don't make any sense. But whatever, it's that's what we have to play to now. So by the letter of the law, probably handball. But I do think it's harsh. I don't know what your thoughts are on that moment of controversy.
Yeah, well, having watched it back, I think it's one of those that you see them given, that's for sure. But then also you feel quite aggrieved when it goes against you, because they don't really seem like penalties. I think, like you say, justice probably maybe a bit too strong. Like you say, by the letter of the law, probably is a penalty. But, here we are on Monday now, and it doesn't really matter, does it? Because Salah sent the ball. It's probably going to find Harry Kane's from the World Cup at some point, isn't it? It was, it was a pretty bad penalty miss. But I think, in a way, that's what Bournemouth deserved. They deserve Salah to miss the penalty, because they were the much better team, and Liverpool were also poor on the day. And I think a lot of that was down to the way Bournemouth played and the way Gary O'Neill set the team up.
Yeah, massively agreed. I think that leads nicely into our next point, actually, about... Actually, O'Neill, he's come in for a lot of stick in recent weeks. And to be honest, since he's taken charge, from supporters, from myself, from others, it's okay to criticise when things aren't going well. When things are going well, it's only fair to then say, you know what, fair play, done a cracking job. And he really did at the weekend. I think his game plan was spot on. His game management was spot on. Substitutes great. Again, you can see that the squad are pulling for him. They're fully behind him. They're fully behind each other. There's a real togetherness in that dressing room. And Jack Stevens mentioned it in the mix zone. So this piece, Jack Stevens' mix zone piece, would have gone up yesterday, because this goes out on a Tuesday. It's confusing for me tonight. He basically mentioned saying, it's all well and good us saying that we've got real unity in the dressing room, but when you're not getting results, it doesn't look that way. obviously he can now say that off the back of being, Champions League chasing Liverpool. And suddenly everyone's like, oh, you know what? Like, you're right. But I mean, even in the poor runs, that unity's still been there, to be honest. And a lot of that's cultivated by the head coach. So Gary O'Neill, yeah, fair play. He deserves it. He took a little lap around the pitch and clapped the fans back. And, he didn't make it about him. It was the players at the end of the day. And after the game, he said it was deserved. And again, he's quite keen to sort of push off any personal praise, but he really deserves it. I think like the setup and the strategy was brilliant. So yeah, fair play to him. I don't know what you thought about the way he set up, but I think he got it spot on.
Yeah, well, I think we spoke about it last week about how we thought that going back to a forward work against this Liverpool side, the way Liverpool set up, and actually now on reflection, the last 3 games, tactically, Gary O'Neill's tried to make the best tactical decisions, and he's explained them, the reasons why he went to 3 at the back against City and Arsenal, because the way they have sort of 5 up front, essentially. And, I think this now shows that he does have that tactical awareness to be able to switch things up. I think the players are more comfortable in this system that we saw against Liverpool, but, it's only going to be time, you need time to get used to, the other systems, maybe like 3 at the back. And like we said, they were playing against top teams. So yeah, switching back to the 4 was really good. Made some good selection decisions, I thought. Playing Billing off of Solanke in that role, I think it really suits him. I think he plays his best football for Bournemouth there. Ouattara obviously down on the right, and then having Anthony on the left this time was interesting. Obviously, he went with Semenyo the week before, but I think he just got everything right. And even in the sense that bringing in Lloyd Kelly left back, we'll talk about the Jay-Z situation in a bit, but he's got Vigna on the bench, and Kelly's been out of the team for a while. He's lost captaincy. It's a big call to come in and go, right, okay, you got a man up on Mohamed Salah, and I thought he kept Salah very, very quiet, and it was a really assured performance from Kelly as well. So I think all round, every choice, every selection that he made was on point, and that's why Bournemouth won.
Yeah, completely agree. I think he did a really good job. Like you say, he makes decisions because he believes that that's the best course of action for certain games. And, he said this game plan for Liverpool was tailored to them, just like the one at Arsenal was tailored for them. You see things before games, you prepare, you analyse, you think, okay, that's the best approach. Sometimes it doesn't work on the day. That doesn't dictate whether or not you're a good or a bad head coach. But I do think we have seen signs of progressions, welcome signs of progression under O'Neill in recent weeks that, Bournemouth, when they do go on the front foot and they're a bit more aggressive, they do play their best stuff. And I think, to field a team against Liverpool, who their away form is abysmal this season, to be fair, but, they just put 7 past United. For O'Neill to say, right, boys, we're going to switch back to a 4. We're going to be quite aggressive in the press, look for high turnovers. When that doesn't work, drop in sort of the mid to low block, something like that. Just, defend your box where you can, and then make sure you take your chances. It's a sound game plan on paper, but to execute it is something else entirely.
And I mean, just to go on that point, Liverpool, they put 7 past United, but Liverpool are a counter-attacking team this season. They're no longer this team winning the ball back high and having their turnovers, on the edge of opposition penalty areas. So when teams do sit back on them, they find it a lot more difficult, and that's that's good. The Gary O'Neill spotted that and said, okay, if we do that, they've got to come onto us at times, and we can hit them on the break. And actually, that doesn't really suit the style of play Liverpool are playing at the moment. So again, another shrewd sort of observation to implement that, and then the players have to go out on the pitch and did the job. So yeah, definitely.
I can't really remember too many occasions where Liverpool broke out the Bournemouth press or kind of exploit any kind of high line and then raced him behind one-on-one. Not too many occasions. Most of the time it was down the wing, but just that's how Liverpool play. It's like a staple on the Klopp, isn't it? Of crosses or pullbacks from wide areas into that half space and sort of little cutbacks and crosses and underlaps in that sort of situation. I think Bournemouth dealt with all of that really well, to the extent where Liverpool, for a lot of the second half, even though they were pressing, kind of looked a bit short of ideas. So I think, again, it goes back to finding that right game plan, settling on it, and then, handing over to the players and trusting them to get a spot on, and they did. And like you said, Lloyd Kelly was a massive part of that. I think he did a great job nullifying Mohamed Salah. And let's speak about Jordan Zamora now, because I think eyebrows were raised When the team sheet came out before the game, there was no Jay-Z, and Lloyd Kelly was starting instead on the left of a 4. And I think people straight away were like, is that to do with form, or is that? But it was actually, revealed to be an internal decision by the club. Short of it is, contract offer has been made to Jordan Zamora. It's a significant improvement of his current terms. But there's been basically a failure to engage from him and from his representatives. So the club made a decision to, basically not include him in the matchday squad, which I think is rightly or wrongly, it's a brave call. It's one that worked out well in the end, and we can only hope that we reach sort of an amicable solution on that front, because no one wants to see, Jay-Z's he's a fan favourite, been at the club now for a few years. He knows his place. You can tell he's got clear passion for the club, plays for the badge. So great friends with Jane Anthony as well. And Jane Anthony, when he signed his new contract, sort of, said that, he hoped Jay-Z's situation would get sorted out. So far, it hasn't. So we wait and see what happens for his long-term future and for the rest of the season. There's a lot of uncertainty up in the air. Andy, what were your thoughts when you saw that he wasn't playing? And what's your assessment of his current situation at the moment?
Right, I'm really sorry, Dan, but I just noticed I need to go plug a charger into my laptop. So
I'll improvise. Third episode. This is the first technical pitch, so it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. So Jay-Z basically, he said a few times this season that he hopes that there's a resolution for his contract situation. At the moment, it seems like there's one thing saying that and another actually doing it. Obviously, in modern football, players have a certain demand for what they want. Their agents may have something similar. The club will have an assessment of what they believe about the player to be worth. So, currently there's not been a middle ground found yet. So it's an awkward situation for all involved. But I think, credit to Bournemouth for kind of taking him out the firing line and basically saying, this is the situation, this is what's happening, find a solution to it, or ultimately, as is happening at the moment, unless something changes, Jordan Zamora leaves at the end of the season. Welcome back, Andy. You've got your choice.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just noticed it popped up and it said, "Oh, you've got 2 minutes left," and I thought I was charged. So quick look back.
Speed to go and find out for your laptop.
Yeah, no. It's going back to we're talking about Jordan Zamora. I mean, heard what you said there. I don't know if, but my own personal opinion. I don't know, obviously, the ins and outs. Don't know what's gone on behind the scenes. I think it's been dealt with in a very professional manner, and they've been very transparent in why he was left out of the squad. And some clubs may have said, "Oh, he's got an illness" or something like that. And they've admitted. But I do wonder why player contract situations are always being negotiated. There are always sticking points, and I would feel that if he's not willing to accept what he's been offered or whatever, then he should still have a part to play for the team. I do think that it's his prerogative to accept or not accept a contract offer, and whilst he's still under contract, he should be able to play. But then again, I don't know what the conversation has been behind the scenes. There could be other things going on. Or like you say, it may have just been a case of, bringing him out the firing line. Maybe his head's not in the right place at the moment because he's thinking about these things. So there are other, reasons. I just found it a bit strange. It's not something you hear very often, a player being omitted for, their contract negotiation sort of stalling. Anyway, I find it a bit of a strange one, but that's my look on it.
I think it was refreshingly transparent, to be honest, that the club did basically say that. So, fair play for him for fronting up about that situation. And I expect we'll hear more over the coming weeks about whether or not, those negotiations are progressing, whether or not they're stalling, they're stopping together. It's an interesting one. There's been reports today that West Ham are interested. They're interested in the summer. And reportedly are interested in him still. So we'll have to wait and see if anything happens on that front. Obviously, if Jay-Z was to leave, there would be a tribunal, basically. So, that's not often the most glamorous process in the world. But you just hope that, the right resolution's found for all parties. So we'll wait and see. On my part, I don't think it's fair to sort of speculate or anything like that. I think we'll just wait and see what happens. But, that was the situation at the weekend. Aside from the kind of not drama around Jay-Z, but surprise kind of situation. There was a great result for Bournemouth, 3 points on the board. Unfortunately, back in the relegation zone after results, from other teams. Went their way, classic. You beat Liverpool, you end the weekend in the bottom three, but moving forward to the next game, Villa away this weekend.
Yeah, but you look at the team, on that note, I mean, you look at that bottom of the table there, and it's they're in the relegation zone, but they're joint points with West Ham and Leicester, and a win could take them, potentially up to, I'm just double checking, it's 12th place. They're only 3 points off 12th place. So, granted, the goal difference is going to be a problem. So, they're not gonna stay up based on their goal difference this season. That's for sure. But it's really tight down there. There's the 3 teams on 24 points. Saints 22, Leeds 23. Then you've got Bournemouth, West Ham, Leicester 24, Everton 25, Forest 26, and then it's Wolves and Palace on 27. So all of those teams, I think, in my opinion, are in this relegation fight. And that's the Bournemouth's advantage, really. There are so many teams to, if there's only like 2 or 3 teams that you're fighting over and they start doing well, but here it's 6 teams. So the odds are if you can get a fairly decent run, and that starts by beating Liverpool, and it's actually changed my opinion on some of the results some of the games coming up. I mean, I've always said that they'll get at least a point away to Villa, but now I think the Fulham and Brighton games, all of a sudden, I'm feeling more confident about those. Fulham took a bit of a pasting from Arsenal yesterday, and maybe actually if Fulham going to maybe start dropping off from where they've been all season, and Bournemouth can pounce at the right time. Again, same with Brighton. They're not quite in the same flow that they maybe were a few weeks back. So now all of a sudden I think, okay, these next 3 games are probably massive. If they can get, I don't know, what am I looking at here? Thinking, I would say 4 points from the next 3 is probably a good return. And that would give them 7 points with the Liverpool one. We're halfway to that 14 points that we think they might have needed. To get to 35 points, which is whereabouts I think safety will be at.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, there's going to be a lot of twists and turns, and there's still to come. I head into this weekend with a lot more optimism than I had before the Liverpool game. I'll freely admit that. I feel like Villa at home, it's not struggling, but that's where their drop-offs have been this season largely. So I think it'd be quite interesting to see if Bournemouth can kind of adopt the same mentality and approach as they did against Liverpool and try and exploit the space, be aggressive in the right areas, be structurally sound. I think if you come away from Villa Park at the point and teams in and around Bournemouth drop points, then you're looking at again another great weekend. And Bournemouth's form the last 5 games actually on paper pretty good. It is pretty good. So there's a lot to kind of take solace from and to be positive about. And it's nice. This is the first edition of the podcast where we speak after a win, and a well-deserved win as well, not a jammy one. Like Bournemouth thoroughly deserved the 3 points. So I think we'll round off on that nice note. Again, full credit to the players and the coaching staff. It was great to see, to be honest. It was a really, really great atmosphere at the ground as well. I think that's allowed us vitality to spend the season when the full-time whistle went. It was just a massive noise, and kind of looking around me, it was great to see all the supporters. They've got something to smile about in this relegation fight. It's far from over. There's still a lot of games to come, but there's a real fun in that dressing room. So I mean, it's looking better than it was, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, there's an international break coming up, and it almost feels that that's coming at the wrong time for Bournemouth. If they get a good result against Villa, and all these good performances have been building, you kind of want to keep that momentum going. Although it may give an opportunity for 1 or 2 of the injured players to get back up to speed and have a bigger squad going into that sort of final stretch of games. But I think the win against Liverpool, not only for the players but for the fans, I think sometimes you hear certain sections of fans think, oh, we're not going to get out of this, we're going back to the Championship, and almost like accepting a fate that because every game's a tough game. And I think this just actually goes, oh, okay, no, we can pick up points against Liverpool. We can pick up points against lots of these teams coming up now. And I think Gary O'Neill's now showing that he's his game plans are working, and that he does know how to set a team up, and he varies it. And I like that in a manager. Sometimes I don't like a manager who goes out and plays the same system week in, week out, and results are always there. Sometimes I think, especially the mid to lower teams, you need to play the best way that your team can play against that team, because they'll probably have bigger qualities than you, like Liverpool's, Arsenal's, and the likes.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be optimistic about. I hope that whenever Liverpool did kind of show that, it's not dead and buried. Like, the race is still a long way to run. Bournemouth will win games, they'll lose games, they'll draw games. And the table, especially the bottom, it will change all the time. Like Bournemouth being in the bottom 3 now, it's kind of like, yeah, they might not end that. They might not end up there at the end of the season, because there's so many twists and turns to come. So, I mean, yeah, we might see another one at Villa Park this weekend. You never know. I'll be there. So, yeah, feel free to follow coverage on my Twitter across all the DorsetLive. I've loads on the website this week as well. We'll leave it there. Andy, thank you so much for joining me again, mate. And I hope that the lucky haircut comes in useful again this weekend.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that I need to get my hair cut this week, but now I'm thinking, if I get
hold on.
International break, I'll get my hair cut international break. So then I'm it's only England that people can blame me for.
Oh, no one cares about England anyway. Thank you so much for joining me, mate. I'll catch you again next week. Thanks very much for watching. Take care, everyone. Cheers.